The planet is fine. The people are fucked. You're getting Disenchanted with Charis on PMVN.
All right. Welcome back to the special 420 episode of Disenchanted with Charis. I am, of course, your fabulous host, Charis. My producer, as always, is the gorgeous Pimpy K. He's totally not paying attention to me right now. Today, I've got a couple little fun things for you, and then I've actually got a main story this week, which came to me at the last minute. It was one of those things. I had a great show written out. I was ready to rock and roll. And at the last minute, I just went, oh, this is too good. I've got to go here. So, for those of you who haven't heard already, as I'm sure most people have, Hernandez. What's his first name again? I totally just blank. Aaron Hernandez, who at one point he scored points for the Super Bowl for the New England Patriots. Of course, fuck the Patriots, but there you have it. We have a different show for that. He apparently committed suicide this week, and there are already rumors going around that he was murdered, that it's a conspiracy, and that he didn't actually go willingly. A couple things that have been thrown around was that he killed himself so that his daughter would actually get his money from the NFL, because he recently was acquitted of the double homicide and was... You know what? Again, wrong show for this. Shameful plug for the Underground Pub Show. Watch them if you're into sports. Which, by the way, Underground Pub Show. Feel free to plug me too, shamelessly. We will all support each other around this bitch. Anyway, moving right along. Yeah, so some are saying that it was potentially murder, that his family had been threatened, that if he didn't kill himself, that they'd start killing them. Yada, yada. And we'll see how that kind of goes. I'm actually kind of interested in that. Apparently, they've actually donated his brain to study brain injuries as a result of playing football, and that I think what they call it, CMS or some shit like that.
I fucking don't remember.
It's something weird like that. Anyway, okay, moving right along. So this is something that I have to complain about, because I always have to have my little complaint on the show. Ann Coulter was recently uninvited to speak at a university. I have a couple problems with this. First of all, although I'm not a huge fan of the woman, the fact that she was uninvited from a university, effectively taking away her First Amendment right to speak, I think is a little fucked up. And the reason giving... I am actually trying to find out what university it was. I keep wanting to say Berkeley, and I know that's wrong.
You know,
give me just a second.
You say she was, her rights were violated. They weren't. I mean, here's the thing. If she's in a public area and she's trying to speak and she's silenced, then her rights are being tampered with. Or they're, you know, but if somebody that owns the facility says, I don't want you here, then there's no violation there.
Here's the problem I have with it.
Now, it might be a dick move. Granted, but there's no law being broken, no violation of rights happening.
Here's the thing, though. The whole thing is the result of they had safety concerns, is what it was. Because when Milo went to speak at Berkeley, you had all that horse shit in it, and that I was against, too. If you want to protest, that's fine, but don't get violent about it. However, Every now and then, something halfway intelligent comes out of Ann Coulter's mouth. As much as I hate to give her that credit, I'm gonna give it to her. Milo was just a troll. He was a professional troll with very little validity coming out of him. However, to invite someone to a university to speak, and to then say, oh, wait, never mind, you're a conservative Republican and you're right-wing and that's what you're known for, so now we don't want you? No, I have a huge issue with that. If you don't show up to debate, you've already lost. But now, if Bill Maher wants to go to any university, he's more than welcome because he's liberal. The way that I view it, if you don't want to go hear what she has to say and you don't particularly want to go, then don't. But don't then go, well, she can't be here because she's controversial and she's anti-feminist. And then don't listen to her. That's your right as well. However, to say that she can't come at all because you're afraid of safety concerns, are you for real? No, that's you being a puddin'. Hire a rent-a-cop and move on. And what really bugs me the most is that, you know, at one point, people went to universities to have their conventional thoughts questioned. And sometimes when you have your conventional beliefs confronted, it's a little scary and it's unsettling and it's not comfortable. I had it happen to me many times in college. However, as a result of that experience, I do believe I'm a better person for it. Because out of necessity, I had to become more open-minded. And as a result, became a more intelligent being. If you're never confronted with anything ever, how the hell do you expect to get through life? There's confrontation every day. The fact that you're a snowflake, and much as I hate to say that word, the fact that you're a little snowflake and can't handle conflicting views, that doesn't give you the right to then ban someone from speaking or trying to disallow anyone who doesn't agree with you. That's ridiculous. I can't even with that mess. I can't even, because, you know, Republicans don't go to universities, do they? Maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
No, they obviously do, but the fact that college campuses around the country or around the world really have always been a hotbed for liberalism, and it's just a fact that, you know, the college campus of the 20th and 21st century has just always been a hotbed for liberal activity. It always has been.
I still think the whole thing is ridiculous. It's not like they said she was going to be talking in this, and it was Berkeley, as a matter of fact. It wasn't like she was doing it in the courtyard. Well, that makes
sense. If there was this big ordeal with this Milo guy, and now all of a sudden this other person's coming, and it's so soon after, then it makes sense why they would consider safety concerns.
You know, maybe the school should turn around and go, listen, you little cream puffs. If you don't like it, don't show up.
That's college kids. They don't fucking listen. We all know that.
Yeah, but, tell them flat out, look, this is the deal. If you don't want to listen, don't show up. But don't stand in the parking lot and cause structure fires either. First Molotov cocktail that gets thrown, you're expelled. I really do. You cannot silence people or disallow someone just because they disagree with you. Shut up. Quick, go cry to someone else. Okay, so in honor of 420, I actually read this little tidbit earlier. It was one of those trending on Twitter things, and I actually think it's hilarious, as well as a lot of fun. So today, pro-marijuana constituents all got out on the steps of Capitol Hill and handed out free joints. I personally thought it was hilarious. They gave them to members of Congress, lobbyists, whoever they could.
Because it is legal now in D.C., right?
But now here's the fun part of my little story. Many of them were arrested. Because although smoking recreational marijuana is legal within the limits of D.C., it is still a federal offense. So they were charged under the federal law as opposed to the District of Columbia laws. However, there is still hope because I believe it's actually next month. They're planning what they call a smoke-in. Everyone is going to stand outside on Capitol Hill and smoke pot. That's a protest I think we can all get behind. While we're on the subject of civil disobedience, I want to encourage everyone to come out on Saturday, the 22nd. There is going to be a big March for Science. We want science. We want it now. And I'm really hoping, of course, I'm pissing in the wind as usual, that it will be another 3 million strong, just like the Women's March. I think this is something, we need science, and we need to science, not only to combat climate change, but as well as medical research. And if we don't stand up for it, it is going to go away. We've already seen it with the effectively the shutting down of the EPA. All right, so there's that. Those are all your little tidbits and fun facts for the evening. Now, on to bigger and better things and what is ultimately our main story, and what is potentially going to turn into a series of stories on the DOJ and focusing on the justice system in this country, because that is something that truly does affect all of us in very big ways. So, for those of you who don't follow as much media as I do, the state of Arkansas, was trying to execute 8 inmates in 11 days. That is actually more in that span of time than any state has ever done since the reinstatement of the death penalty in 1976. This caught my attention because I actually follow Damian Eccles on social media, and if you're not familiar with him, he was the one that was dubbed the ringleader of the West Memphis Three. They were 3 boys that were wrongly convicted and imprisoned for the deaths of 3 young children in West Memphis, Arkansas back in the 90s. If you are not familiar with that story, I highly suggest that you look into it and you read it. I'm not going to get into it here. It's not the forum. But it's something that I really think everyone should look at because it's actually very sad. Anyway, so as Damian Eccles was put on death row for his alleged role in the killing of these 3 children, after 18 years he was released. And now, of course, he is an advocate for those on death row. He's spoken out against it many times. And he's actually bringing a lot of attention to what the state of Arkansas is trying to do. I mean, they tried to do it to him. And one of the things that really kind of stuck in my craw a little bit was a man named Liddell Lee, who is on death row. I'm not going to debate whether or not he committed the crime. Again, not the forum, not the time. Look into it yourself. Educate yourself. I'm working on the death penalty, not who should be imprisoned and shouldn't be. He submitted a motion to admit DNA evidence that could have potentially exonerated him from a crime he committed in I think it was 96, is what the article said. However, a judge denied it. They're going to kill him anyway. So, even though this new DNA evidence could potentially overturn his conviction, at least in this case, the judge said, nope, you're already on death row. You've been here long enough. We're going to kill you. How, like I said, I'm not going to debate whether or not he did or didn't it, but the fact...
Wait. So... sure, you're paraphrasing, but that was essentially the argument the judge gave, is that you've been here so long that it's just...
No, that wasn't the argument the judge gave. However, what he said was... What happened was his attorney tried to go, look, we have new DNA evidence, we want to have it tested, and the judge said no.
Was he out of appeals, or...?
No. He's been caught up in this for some time now. And this was, and see, even if you're out of appeals, because there's been a couple cases where stuff like this has come up, and here's the thing. DNA evidence is not old at all. It is very, very new. It's actually, I think it was only first used in a trial in the early 2000s.
Well, the very first time DNA was actually used in a in a murder trial was the O.J. Simpson trial.
They didn't use DNA.
Nope, they absolutely do.
Did they use blood evidence?
That was landmark. It was the very first. They used both, but it was the very first time that they ever had that they actually tried to use DNA in a capital murder ever in the history of the country. Maybe in the history of murder in general, but you can look it up.
I am.
While there's dead air.
I know, right? As there's totally dead air because the radio host has no idea what she's actually doing. Oh, that's profiling. That's not what I'm looking for. You Google it. You're not doing anything exciting right now.
I shouldn't have to Google it. I'm the one that said it. Somebody else has to prove me up.
No, that's not the way that works. Again, it's something. So yeah, if you committed I don't understand why it's not being allowed. That's one of my fundamental arguments. And it says it was 25 years ago, but
so how long ago was the OJ thing? I forget when that was.
God, that was what, 96?
That was 21 years ago.
Yeah. Okay, someone find that out and let me know, and I'll be more than happy to do a redaction.
Yeah. Call the hotline, whatever. But I'm almost positive I heard that was the first time it was ever used in a murder.
Well,
trial.
the difference is too is that back then, when DNA testing became a thing, you needed a lot of DNA. Now you need substantially less, and they can even now use DNA fragments and put them through phoresis and actually come up with theoretically what that DNA looks like intact. So the technology has grown in leaps and bounds. But back to what I'm getting at here. I have my own thoughts and opinions on the death penalty. But ultimately, we're one of the very few countries remaining that actually still use it. I think the only other ones are like North Korea, China, Russia. I know will kill you if you do something bad. But it's countries we know to be fairly mean anyway. Like
right. Most first world or developed countries, if you will,
have done away with it.
Right.
And here's the thing that really and I probably should have started out at a different point in this whole series. However, it is not a deterrent. The death penalty does not keep people from committing heinous crimes at any less of a rate than states without the death penalty. Over half the people in this country don't agree with it. It frequently, and it's absolutely, fundamentally, it's barbaric. Because the chemicals that are used in order to actually kill someone, if they do not work perfectly, as in most cases they don't, that person suffers exponentially. And sometimes they have to kill you more than once because it doesn't work. I mean, there was actually a man, and I've forgotten which state it was in, who they performed a lethal injection, and he lived. Oh, but he's now mentally handicapped and physically disabled. Way to go. I don't support it for a few reasons. And in fact, because so many people now are being exonerated through DNA evidence, through the finding of fragmented DNA, that it is reasonable that a large number of people that have been executed, in fact, were innocent. So I think it's not so much that it's perhaps barbaric and an antiquated act, but how can you condone potentially killing an innocent person? I mean, even in the instances of like Ted Bundy, I don't think anyone really wanted him walking free in society again. Life imprisonment, maybe?
No. See, that's the one case where we all know he did it. He never really, he denied he did it in court when he was, defending himself.
Well,
but
see, and
he also gave up the location of bodies to try to get, help from not being executed, which he almost had, but then he escaped, and then after that, there was no question.
There was no question. Well, and that's when he committed the Chi Omega killings. It was after he escaped. No, and I think that's one of the things that really makes people sit on the fence. You know, you have these instances where people are being killed for, like, dumb shit. Like, they held up a liquor store and someone got shot, versus the cases of Ted Bundy. You kind of go from one extreme to another. And although no one would debate the fact that perhaps the likes of Gary Ridgway, the BT, you know, these people, you know, Aileen Wuornos, there is no hope for rehabilitation there. When you start killing people in mass numbers, as those people did, that's not, what do you do with those people?
Right. And
because
she was sick anyway.
Yes, she was. But the problem is, like Texas, for example, does not make allowances for mental health disorders. If you live in Texas, you commit a crime, even if you're mentally disabled, they will still kill you in Texas. I have a problem with that because I think
I don't. To an extent. I think about it like this, though. If, just like you're saying, somebody that is killing people to a point where you know they're just sick. They're sick in the head. They have a mental
diminished
issue.
capacity is what you're looking for.
Well, no. I mean, Ted Bundy was a very intelligent man, but he was obviously sick in a way that could not be cured.
Correct. I'm talking. I'm not.
If your mental illness, no matter what the mental illness is, makes it to where you are taking lives, then it's the same thing to me. Whether your mental capacity is there or not.
See, and the only argument, the real counter argument I have to that is the fact that there has been copious amounts of stories where you have specifically veterans with PTSD who flip out one night and kill their wife and drown their kids. You know, and that's an example, but that is a moment of temporary insanity. That is not, to me, that's not even something that deserves imprisonment. That's something that you look at and you go, shit, this person is sick. They need help. They're not truly a criminal. Because in that moment, they acted in a diminished capacity. And therefore, I think it's very difficult. Because, yes, they did something wrong. But now they have to live with it. I mean, could you imagine getting in a headspace so badly that you lose all total control and kill the person you supposedly love the most in the world, and then you come out of that and realize what you've done? I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's punishment enough. We don't then need to send you to prison for the rest of your life and house you in maximum security or potentially kill you. I don't think... that, I think, is an issue. And it's happened. More than once. The other issue I have with the death penalty is that I think it's statistically it's somewhere in the ballpark of like 65% of all people currently sitting on death row were defended by public pretenders. We know and have known for a very long time that and no offense to public defenders, they are overworked, they are underpaid. A lot of them don't even see their clients before they even go in a courtroom. These people are fighting for their lives, and that's the straw they drew. Yeah, you know, notice.
Right, just another way to say that when you think about it, death row is really just for the poor.
Yeah, I mean, look at OJ. Had OJ not have had Robert Kardashian, Shapiro. You know, he'd have been screwed. To quote Chris Rock, if OJ hadn't have been the juice, if he'd have been a bus driver, he'd have been Orenthal the bus driving murderer. And that's true. There's actually some social issues that gets into as well, which I think that side of it is very interesting as well. The way that case was tried. But we do have issues within our legal system, and I think this is one of them. And I think it's something we all need to think about a little more, and think about it more critically, and decide if this is really what we think is in the best interest of dealing with violent offenders. You know, you can't rehabilitate.
I think it's pretty well and proven that the death penalty is not a deterrent for violent crimes.
No, it's not. And I mentioned that earlier. It's not a deterrent. and it doesn't really, it's expensive. It's not cheap to kill people. You know, it costs the taxpayers money. And the other side of that, too, you know, Scott Peterson, who was convicted of and put on death row for killing his wife, he is more likely to die in prison than his sentence actually be carried out. That, in and of itself, doesn't make sense.
Well, that is California, though, right?
I believe so, yes.
Well.
No, because I think they abolished it again. No, I think they abolished it, reinstated it, and then got rid of it again. California is their own little bowl of granola. I don't get it.
If you're on death row and it is, and they call it off again, right? The courts rule it's
Stay of execution.
Well, no. Well, yeah. What I'm saying is, if the courts rule it's unconstitutional, whatever it may be, and they get rid of it, anyone that's on death row at that time, their sentence is commuted to life.
Correct.
And
life without the possibility of parole.
Right. And then if they reinstate, those people are still fine. It's anybody that comes in after that.
Correct. Because Charles Manson was originally sentenced to death, and then when they abolished the death penalty, he was commuted to life without parole.
Well, no, he has.
Or no, he has
parole.
Well, he ain't gonna get parole
right now.
Let's be real.
I think he had one last year, and then that's. But you will never see anything because they're never going to allow him to be on TV or interview or anything ever again.
What are you talking about? He's been on TV several times since then.
No, I'm talking about they made this decision maybe, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But the last time, not this last one, but the last time he had a
taped interview.
No, well, a parole hearing or whatever. That was the last time he was actually seen on film. And there was no interviews, there were no anything. They're no longer allowing him to speak to the media or anything. It's been going on for a while now. Find anything that's I would say almost 10 years or newer of Charles Manson. Like, you won't find it. You might find some pictures of him where his health has been failing and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
But there's no interviews or anything. Like, they cut that off. They got sick of hearing from him.
Oh, but come on, he was so entertaining to the rest of us.
Dude's a highly intelligent man.
I wouldn't go. Well, I mean, he is 80-something. I think he's kind of lost the plot over the last couple years, but you know.
I'm just saying some of the stuff that he said, and even in those like big interviews that he's done, a lot of that stuff has come to fruition. I mean, a lot of that stuff was real, true shit. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, all right, we're not here to glorify. Mass murder, however,
cult leader or
anything. But you know, it does kind of go back to my original thing. You know, what do you do with people like that?
Conspiracy theories are only theories until they actually happen, right? and a lot of the stuff that he preached about, it happened. It's true. It's not even. I mean, go back and listen to some of those interviews. It'll blow your mind how relevant the stuff he says to the stuff that's going on today.
Oh, what got me was like, and here's the thing. I really do think that if you were to let him out, even today, there would still be enough people that would follow him.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I do think, you know, to say, oh, well, the Manson family died in the 70s, I don't think it did. I do think
there would be just too much money for him to be left alone. You know what I mean? Like God, I mean, if he was to get released, he would have a deal of some sort almost immediately, and people would be leeching off the money that he would be worth.
Well, the problem is there's a couple problems with that because you have Son of Sam laws. So
no, that just means he can't make money off of the crimes that he committed. That doesn't mean he can't go into something else. They can't. You know, like he was doing music before the crimes, so he can actually get into music.
Well, and that's the thing. You know, several artists have actually recorded his music. One of them being the Beach Boys actually recorded a song that he wrote. They changed it a little bit, but they did. Sammy Hagar has actually recorded a song of his. There's been a couple of his songs that have actually been recorded by well-known and famous musicians. Some of that, I think, is sort of like that whole cult aspect. Like, oh, look, we recorded Charles Manson's music. But I mean, how legitimately talented he was, I wouldn't want to sit here and attest to.
Right. My point is just this. This is all I'll say. The law states that he cannot use the facts of his crime to make money. However, that doesn't mean that he can't be famous just for being Charlie Manson. They can't take that away from him.
That's because that's his identity and theoretically he owns it.
Right.
No, there are plenty of people that profit off Charles Manson other than Charles Manson.
Yep.
But like I said, I think have you ever noticed the rabbit trails we run on this show? Like, we just go.
That was relevant, though, I believe.
It was relevant because, I mean, we are talking about the legal system and the death penalty versus life imprisonment and what do you do. But I think our system is draconian anyway. I mean, look at the sentences we hand out. And here's what I want to know. And if anyone can answer this question, please do so. Why in the hell does a small-time drug dealer get more time in prison than a rapist? If you are caught with say, a pound of marijuana in the state of Florida, your ass is going to the big house. Oh, but if you violently rape somebody, 18 months maximum sentence. Really? See, those are the kinds of inconsistencies that fundamentally bother me. How can you classify... I mean... Drug dealing comes with its own caveats, but theoretically, you're not harming someone or doing something to someone against their will. I mean, you don't go to a drug dealer and go, please don't make me snort that cocaine. I mean, it just doesn't happen that way. And I know I'm going to get the hate mail for that comparison. I know it's coming. I got hate mail the other week about something. Did I tell you about that? And I don't even remember. It was something I did the other week, and I compared it to... And I thought about it, and I'm like, that sort of makes sense, but you're still you're a puddin'. Like, it's not that serious. Love to hate me for all I care. Speaking of love to hate, you know how I've gone on and on about Tommy Lahren in the past? Mm-hmm. She made a comment that may or may not have... been for the advocacy of pro-choice. And at the time, she was on The Blaze, which is owned by Glenn Beck, who is a right-wing conservative. And, yeah, he fired her. And now she's like, oh, my voice was silenced, and I feel horrible, and I feel betrayed. I'm like, really? Sucks, doesn't it? Because she's railed against the left for a long time. And she's railed against anyone that disagrees with her. And now the shoe's on the other foot. And she's the one being railed against by her own people. So, and Fox fired Bill O'Reilly finally. He's no longer going to be allowed to get on TV and spew hate speech.
Oh, somebody will pick him up.
I don't know. I think the social climate has changed just enough to keep someone like him off the air. I really do. Plus he's so old now. I don't think who's going to pick him up? Breitbart? InfoWars? I mean, that's his best bet. Maybe Glenn Beck will, but didn't I hear one time those two didn't like each other?
Well, yeah. Well, I heard that O'Reilly was one of the people that made the decision to oust him when he got kicked out of there. When Glenn was kicked off Fox, I heard some of it was because of disputes between him and Bill, yes.
Yeah, so...
And Bill would have made the decision.
Well, since Bill was the bigger of the two anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Glenn Beck wasn't really there. I mean, Bill O'Reilly's been on Fox now forever.
Right, that's Murdoch's man.
Yeah. Fox has they've been in all kinds of shit, haven't they? What was it? Roger Ailes had to step down. Now Bill O'Reilly's
in the same thing.
Have you ever watched Fox News? It's softcore porn for old guys. Are you kidding me?
That's a good point.
Well, and the problem is, I feel sorry for the women because as much as I mean, I don't watch Fox News. I'm not a huge fan. But some of those women come across as being very eloquent and well-spoken and almost intelligent. And yet, that's the work environment they have.
I don't see it bothering Greta any. Is she even still there? I don't know.
I think she still is. I think yeah, but I mean...
Or Shep. I mean, he's a woman.
God. That's so true. I love how we have just slowly gone. We have gone from death penalty to Charles Manson to the women of Fox News. Check that out. See, and by the way, we are totally not on drugs around here, and that's how we get from A to B, right there. Like somehow that's a new party game right there. 6 degrees of separation. Get from death penalty to the ladies of Fox News. There you go.
It doesn't seem like that far of a jump to me. From debating the death penalty to ultra-conservative news station that talks about it all the time. Really?
Well, see, and that's the other thing, too, because when you listen to... That's actually... I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of times when people talk about the death penalty, a lot of its huge supporters are aligned with the religious right. How in the hell can you sit there and call yourself a Christian and then go, oh, but kill people?
Because killing people is the Christian thing to do, and it's always been the Christian thing to do since the inception of Christianity. Christianity is about murking people that ain't Christians. That's the way it's been for a long time. Just like the Muslims murk people that ain't Muslims. Christians, you want to talk, we can talk about how dangerous and nasty the Muslims are. Let's start doing a tally here. Let's find out who's killed more people, the Christians or the Muslims. I think it's pretty easy.
Well,
we could just base it on the 1700s, and you can count all the ones the Muslims did for the rest of that time, and it's not even going to come close.
Well, it's...
Crusades, Inquisitions. I mean, we can go on.
The Salem witch trials.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of those things.
And almost every country had a Christian witch trial of some sort.
Some persuasion.
That was our nasty business. But years before that, they had one in UK, or they had them all over Europe. They had them. Western Europe specifically.
Of course they did. But no, it is one of those things. It does seem like a hypocritical thing. Oh, I'm all about mercy and forgiveness, but if you kill somebody, damn right we should kill you back. Okay. Do you not see the flaw in the logic there? I mean, there's a disconnect. And if you actually confront people on it, they don't respond. You know what they do? They get pissed off and tell you, well, you don't get it, you atheist bastard.
You don't understand faith. That's your problem.
Yeah, no, I do understand, and that's why I'm asking this question, because it seems to be inconsistent. But that's the problem.
Even the Bible says eye for an eye. Forget that turning the other cheek business. That, not everything.
Actually, I believe the eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth actually came from Hammurabi's Code, which actually predates Christianity.
Don't you talk to me about my Bible, woman. I know exactly what it says in there.
Touch a Bible, you burst into flames.
Good googly moogly, man.
All right, so that is actually going to wrap it up for tonight. Tune in next week. We'll have some...
That's a great note to end it on.
I know, right? We will totally disparage an entire group of individuals and then end the show on that note. You know what we forgot?
Sounds legit to me.
Dude, we totally did not do the contacts.
We'll do it next week.
We'll do it. Okay. So, all right, for those of you playing the home game, thank you. Join us next week. I apologize for our rabbit trails. Eventually, we will get some consistency around here. But you've got 2 amateurs in a basement, so there's work to be done. Have a good night. Come back to us next week. Remember, like us on Facebook, Disenchanted Charis. Send us your emails, your questions, comments, death threats, whatever you feel is appropriate. Anything you want to know about, please hit me up. Again, good night, dissent, and resist. Have a good night.